Según nos cuentas, el poder manipula a la clase trabajadora, los medios de comunicación la ridiculizan. ¿Quién defiende a la clase trabajadora?
Traditionally, obviously, the organisations to defend the interests of working class people are the trade union movement. Now, around half of all British workers were unionised in 1979. It's now gone down to about a quarter. You know, in this country, over half of public sector workers are unionised, but in the private sector it's only 14%. Now, there are lots of problems to face, like the fact people often do more than one job in a year. People drift from low-paid work into unemployment, back into low-paid work, and the cycle carries on. That's difficult to organise people in those circumstances. They suffered many defeats by the government. The turning point was the 1980s, the miners' strike. Miners traditionally were the most prestigious part of the trade union movement. They brought down the Conservative government in the 1970s, and the Conservatives never forgave them for it. So when the miners were defeated in the 1980s, there was a sense of, if the miners can be defeated, then nobody can win. And that promoted a real sense of defeatism.
Tenemos el recuerdo de aquellas grandes huelgas que hubo en los años 80, incluso en los años 90. ¿Ese tipo de huelgas son posibles actualmente?
Well, general strikes, are easier to call for than to do, and workers sometimes, even though going on strike is difficult and you lose a day's pay, is important, because otherwise, what incentive is there for an employer to just not get rid of all of your rights and slash your wages? I mean, that's the point of organising people, to stop that from happening.
En España los sindicatos están muy desprestigiados. No sé qué pasa aquí en Inglaterra.
Well, trade unions have been systematically battered in this country. Their leaders are called trade union barons. Now, their leaders are elected by their members. Barons are not elected, but that's how they're portrayed. They're portrayed as, these bully boys who have influence they don't deserve, who are just trying to cause trouble all the time, that people just go on strike for the fun of it.
¿Qué parte de ese desprestigio de los sindicatos es culpa de los propios sindicatos?
Well, I think it's certainly the case that trade unions just need to change drastically. You can't just say, they're all against us and the law's against us and the media's against us. You have to have constructive, positive things that you can do yourself. Things like social media. In Los Angeles, there was a strike at a hotel by hotel workers for a minimum wage and union recognition, and they did a flash dance. And then that video went viral on YouTube, and it was a great way of communicating to younger people and reaching younger people and being imaginative and fun and all the rest of it.
O sea, ¿la lucha obrera se tiene que convertir en flash mobs?
No, I don't think they should do just flash mobs. I just mean they should be more creative in the way they communicate rather than just angry press releases. And I think trade unions need to communicate that better. I think partly it's about emphasising the successes of the trade union movement. The rights that many workers take for granted, some of them under attack, were won by the trade unions. And everything from, paid holiday leave to the weekend have their origins in the struggle of trade unions to improve the lot and conditions of working people. It's about emphasising the strength that people have if they organise together rather than fighting battles alone, which they will lose almost certainly. And my view is to draw inspiration from a past where people fought for these things, however difficult and however hard it was. It was called a struggle, it wasn't called a walkover, and that's because it's difficult. The people we're up against are very, very powerful indeed, but they lost in the past and they will lose again.